In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Sometimes we, sometimes some of us take a wrong direction and we become quite away from a desirable person, from a desirable personality. We develop the thinking and the habits which are quite undesirable, sometimes quite obnoxious, which should be abhorred. Our next generation is much more vulnerable as compared to us because they are the generation of the smartphone. They are the generations of the they are the generation of the smartphones, and they are the generation of the era of freedom. They are the generation of the time of freedom, because once we were young there was little freedom and there was no such thing as a smartphone and such a social media and developed media, and that is why we were, I think, there was much lesser chances of going astray as compared to the generation of today is having. And now I think that we need to keep an eye over our younger generation, over the people who are not so mature now. Even the mature people too need to keep an eye over what they are thinking and the type of habits they have adopted and they are getting towards, and also the level of the self discipline they are having. There might be a sort of self indulgence going on in ourselves, and we might be inclined and we might have taken certain steps which are actually there for the sake of the self indulgence instead of the self discipline. Some of us, or many of us, are have become a sort of person that which actually which make us abhor them, and which actually, although it's not good, but it is a sort of reality that if at all some of the people, particularly the people of the younger generation, if at all they are they are not if they are not if they are unable to adopt the good habits, if at all they are unable to adopt the good thinking, I think this is a kind of alarm, this is a kind of warning sign, and it must make alert the parents and the guardians and guardians of those younger folks. It is very important. It is very important. Many of the youths of today have gone astray. Many of the youths today are away from the right path. They have gone astray. Why? Because they think liberally, because they watch so much on the smartphone, regardless of whether the content is a good one or the content is a bad one. It does affect the younger folks much more as compared to it does to the mature people. I think that there are even the mature people, but much more the younger folks, much more the next generation. They people keep thinking, they keep watching, they keep reading, they keep thinking so much of the undesirable content, and then we all know that it is a bad company which makes the younger folks bad. But the question is, how does a person reaches the bad company on the one hand, and how does a person, a younger folk, accept the bad company on the other hand? It is only because this individual who has gone to a bad company, because this individual who have accepted the bad company, this individual was thinking about the bad stuff. This individual, this younger folk was reading the bad stuff, was watching the bad stuff. That is why it took him or her to a bad company. It took him or her to accept the bad company from the very mind, from the very depth of the mind and the heart. I think so that we need to keep an eye over ourselves as well, because if at all the bad thoughts are coming to our mind consistently, I think this is a warning sign and we must become alert about it. And if at all, the next step is the adaptation, the next step is going toward the bad habits. If at all a younger folk or we ourselves, if at all we are inclined toward the bad habit, this is actually again a much, this is the next stage of the warning sign. And this means that we have made some travel, that we have gone slightly away. And if now it is the time of the habits to become strong, it is the time of the habits to strengthen themselves, I think so that we need to become alert, we need to stay alert, because our mind is like a farm, is an agricultural farm. There we do have to grow the vegetables, the fruits, the grains, and the beautiful flowers and the beautiful plants. And if at all we are not planting, and if at all we are not taking care of these things, what is going to happen, that the weeds, although we didn't put the seeds of the weeds there, but the weeds are automatic, and weeds will start growing over, weeds will start emerging from that soil, and the weeds will start growing as well. And this is how I think so, this is how our brain works. And if at all we are not keeping an eye over our brain will keep thinking the wrong stuff as well, and our eyes will keep watching the wrong stuff on the smartphone, and we will keep reading the wrong stuff on the smartphone. We will make an access to the bad company, and we will accept the bad company as well. And this is, I think, where the destruction starts. This is a place, and this is a stage where the destruction starts. And we must be very careful, and we must be very cautious about it. Otherwise, what is going to happen is that we will be lost, and our next generation, if at all we are not working smart and hard on their training, if at all we are not prior to the training, if at all we are not keeping an eye over the activities, over the thoughts and the conversations of our younger folk, I think so that this will make them go astray, this will lead them to go astray. And these people, the younger folks, the younger generations of our home, I think so these family members of ours would have gone so far away that their recovery, that their return will become almost impossibly difficult. And we will keep regretting and repenting, because we did not take the right direction, because we did not observe them, because we did not keep an eye on those people, because we were not desperate and eager to train them. Rather, we left them on the society, on the smartphone, and on the bad company as well. And now their personalities now have become very undesirable. They have adopted very undesirable and abhorrible habits. I think let's keep an eye over our younger folks as well as ourselves.